Johnny?
Johnny, can you show the slides, please?
Go ahead, Susan. We'll get that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the August 2020 SEAC webinar. My name is Susan Foer. I'm with the CalPERS Employer Response Team, and I'll be your moderator this morning. Let me first begin by saying that we sincerely hope this call finds you and your families healthy and safe in what continues to be a challenging COVID environment. Today's presentation will take about 80 minutes, including a 10-minute break. There will be plenty of time for questions following the presentations. Some of you have provided us questions in advance, and our goal is to address those along the way. If you have questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A feature, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. As Bill mentioned, this is being recorded, and it will be available on our website next week. The slides are available on our CalPERS SEAC webpage, but if you have any problems getting a hold of those slides, please feel free to email the SEAC mailbox, and we'll make sure to get those to you. That email is calpers_SEAC@calpers.ca.gov. Next slide, please. So we've gathered several CalPERS leaders and team members for this event. You'll be hearing from Andrea Peters, who is a team leader in our Legislative Affairs Division. Andrea will provide us with a legislative update. Brad Hansen and Jennifer Rocco are Assistant Division Chiefs in the Employer Account Management Division. They will be speaking about furlough reporting and remind you of how to correctly report out-of-class appointments. Next slide, please. Rihanna Lawati from the Employer Account Management Division and Anna Movita from the Membership Account Management Division will provide membership and service credit purchase updates. Rihanna will also share information on the permanent separation process. After the break, Megan Cordy, a team member of the Employer Account Management Division, will speak about CalPERS communication and myCalPERS system enhancements. Next slide, please. William Greenwald and I are on the CalPERS Employer Response Team, and we will assist with the question and answer portion of the webinar. And last, but certainly not least, the one and only Renee Ostrander, Chief of the Employer Account Management Division, is also available to assist with questions throughout the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Andrea Peters.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Peters, and I am here to provide you the state legislative update. I will be reviewing 3 bills with you today: Assembly Bill 2101, Assembly Bill 2473, and Assembly Bill 2967. Assembly Bill 2101, among other things, makes minor policy and technical changes to the Public Employees Retirement Law, including conforming state law to the recently signed federal Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act, also known as the SECURE Act, which increased the required minimum distribution age for retirement accounts from 70.5 years old to 72 years old, and making clarifying changes related to confidential member data. The bill also contains minor and clarifying provisions related to the California State Teachers Retirement System and the County Employees Retirement Law of 1937. Assembly Bill 2101 is scheduled to have its second policy hearing this afternoon. It is currently on the Policy Committee consent calendar. Assembly Bill 2473 is a CalPERS-sponsored bill that would establish disclosure requirements within the California Public Records Act regarding borrowers' information related to private loan investments by public pension systems. Recent amendments taken narrowed the bill slightly to apply only to the California Public Employees Retirement System and the California State Teachers Retirement System, and provided additional background information to the Findings and Declarations section of the bill. Assembly Bill 2473 is also scheduled to have its second policy hearing this afternoon. A CalPERS team member will be attending this hearing to answer any questions legislative members may have regarding the policy aspects of this bill. Our last bill is Assembly Bill 2967 that would prohibit a CalPERS contracting agency from amending its contract on or after January 1st, 2021 to exclude groups of employees from membership in CalPERS. The bill allows contract amendments that enumerate or clarify provisions that do not expand the groups of employees subject to exclusion. The CalPERS Board of Administration has voted to support this bill at the July off-site board meeting. Assembly Bill 2967 is scheduled to have its second policy hearing this afternoon. Again, our CalPERS team member will be in attendance to answer any questions legislative members may have regarding the policy aspects of this bill and to place on record CalPERS support. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Brad Hansen and Jennifer Rocco. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Rocco. I'm an Assistant Chief in the Employer Account Management Division, and I will let Brad introduce himself.
And greetings, I'm Brad Hansen. I am the Assistant Division Chief in the Employer Account Management Division, and I oversee the Compensation Review and Payroll area at CalPERS. And today we'll be talking about furlough reporting, and I'll turn it back over to Jennifer.
Thanks, Brad. Next slide, please. All right, so today Brad and I just want to give a quick overview regarding furloughs. We've been receiving a lot of questions, and I can start off the presentation by letting you know two important things that will hopefully ease your mind. Number one, there's nothing new that we will be sharing today. So if anyone has had past experience with furloughs, the information you're hearing today will be the same as what you have done previously. And additionally, we have an updated circular letter that should be coming out any day now. So all this information will be published very soon. So as far as what we're going to touch on today regarding furloughs, we'll briefly go over the applicable government code section. Brad is going to talk about member benefits or impacts, as well as contributions and payroll reporting. And then I'm going to walk you through how CalPERS administers the government code and the steps that we are going to be completing for any employers school employers that do elect to have a furlough. And then I'll give you a quick reminder on membership enrollment. Next slide, please. So first, just to quickly recap, Government Code Section 20969.2 outlines the furloughs and who it applies to. So this is anyone employed by a county office of education, a school district that is a contracting agency, or a community college district. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to kick it over to my partner in crime and let him walk you through the next few slides. Go ahead, Brad.
All right, so, like Jennifer had mentioned before, this time around with furloughs will be essentially just like it always has been. The government code, the statutes in place to ensure that all of these school members that are furloughed will still receive the same retirement benefits that they would had they not been furloughed. So things like their benefit formula, their final compensation, even their service credit will not be impacted by the furloughs whatsoever. If you would, Johnny, would you move on to the next slide? At the end of the day, when it comes to reporting for both your member and employer contributions, we still want you to report your true full-time pay rate with the reduced earnings, and that will ensure that the member and the employer are still paying those full contributions. At the end, and I'm kind of doing a sneak peek into what Jennifer's talking about, at the end of the year, we'll reach back out to you and we'll just correct that data to ensure that the members are still receiving their full service credit. Next slide, please. And that's basically what I just said. We still want you to report the full-time pay rate with the actual earnings. So for instance, if you reduced, you had a 2-day furlough, report the full-time pay rate, reduce the earnings by those 2 days. The member will be billed, or excuse me, the employer will be billed the full employer and member contributions based off of the true earnings. And then their service credit will initially be impacted in the system. But then at the end of the year, the membership team will run what we call a process change request in order to correct the service credit so that the member is given the full year of service that they should have got. And I'll turn it back over to Jennifer now.
Thank you, Brad. Can we move to the next slide, please? All right, so Brad kind of stole my thunder a little bit here, but I'm going to walk you through the administration piece of this. So like you mentioned, we do have the annual adjustment process. You'll be working with my team through our furlough reporting mailbox, which we'll throw up on the screen at the end of the presentation. We're going to be working with employers first to obtain a detailed furlough plan. There's an Excel spreadsheet that we will ask you to complete regarding your furlough plan. Once that's completed, we will go in and identify the employees that were impacted by the furlough and ask you to respond back with specific member information that will assist us in making those account adjustments. And then, of course, at the end, like Brad mentioned, we'll run our PCR process in order to make sure that all of the accounts are updated accordingly so that those member benefits that Brad spoke about are not impacted. And I did note here that the county offices are responsible for collecting and sending this information for their districts. So we will be looking to hear from you as the COE, if there are districts or your own office that do implement furloughs. We kick that process off usually around March, and we'll work with you to obtain all of that information. Okay, next slide, please. So one little reminder for everyone regarding membership enrollment, there's no changes to that process with regards to furloughs. And I just wanted to remind you all that if you have your intermittent part-time individuals, that you should still be monitoring them for membership, and that the hours an employee would have worked had they not been subject to the furloughs should be counted when you're adding up the hours for membership eligibility. So just a friendly reminder there for all of you. And then next slide, please. So like I mentioned at the beginning, all this information is going to be delivered in a circular letter. I would anticipate that letter probably coming out within the next week or so. We're in the final stages of review. And then I have put up here for you the mailbox, the school and local safety furlough at calpers.ca.gov. This is the mailbox that you'll use to communicate with my team when you're submitting your furlough plan, when you're providing that member information, and then we will use that to circle back with you when our process is complete. So please have that information handy for any of the COEs or districts that are considering furloughs. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us there. We're happy to work with you and get you the information that you need. And I believe that wraps up my presentation. I can kick it over to Brianna Lawati and Anastasia Movida to talk about some membership and service credit changes.
Good morning. Next slide, please.
Oops, I think that we went a little bit out of turn, Jennifer.
Well, yeah, my
I was up next.
apologies. I have to kick it over to Brad for a compensation update. Sorry about that.
Well, you don't have to say have to. It's not really that big of a chore, is it? Anyhow, It wouldn't be me if I couldn't make a few jokes to my friends here at the School Employer Advisory Committee. Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick little compensation update for everybody here, just to let you guys know about some things that are going on right now, and most of them are just reminders. So if you could, Johnny, please, next slide. I just wanted to have a quick reminder about the out-of-class reporting. We just sent our annual notification out in June, basically reminding everybody by the end of July, you have to report all of your out-of-class positions to CalPERS. Now, we have that tab that's in the system, and I'll go over a link with you that we actually have that will walk you through how to do it. But we need everybody to report by July 30th. We're actually going to be sending out another reminder for any school that hasn't reported their out-of-class appointment by the July 30th deadline. So just look for that if you haven't reported it, or if you haven't, please get in there and do it as soon as possible. We need to have all the data per the statute in by August. We don't have any penalties or admin fees yet, but that's something that if employers fail to report their data, we could look into doing that. It's kind of a new process, so we're kind of giving people more of a grace period, but we do need to get that data as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Here's those resources I mentioned. If you're not familiar with out-of-class reporting, I would strongly recommend you go look into our circular letter that's available on the CalPERS website. And then we also have a out-of-class reporting student guide that kind of walks you through how you actually report this information. We have an upload feature, or you can just go in online and report each person individually. We made it pretty easy to do. So get that information in there, and then we can start looking in there to see if any fees need to be assessed or not. I'm not going to go over all the rules today about out-of-class reporting and what is or is not reportable. You know, if you are going to be attending the education forum in October, we are going to have a booth specifically set up for out-of-class reporting, so we can answer your questions then. Also, too, if you do have any burning questions, you could always just email me, brad.hansen@calpers.ca.gov, and I'd be glad to get you in touch with the proper people, or you can also contact our contact center. Okay, so next slide, please. And this is also just kind of an informational item. We've been getting this question quite a bit ever since the outbreak of the COVID-19. Is hazard pay reportable to CalPERS if someone has to come into work during this pandemic? Well, first, let me just give a quick definition of what hazard pay is. You know, hazard pay actually is an item of special compensation that's listed for both classic and prepper. So yeah, it is an eligible special comp. In order for it to be reportable, the very first thing is, it's not even on the slide, is it has to be something that you bargained for and is actually in your MOU and meets all the criteria of hazard pay. In most cases, this is probably not going to be in any of your MOUs, so more than likely it's not going to be reportable. But let's just say you did have hazard pay in your MOU or labor agreement. It's a special assignment pay. It has to be reported routinely and consistently. Compensation employees who are exposed to toxic, radioactive, explosive, or other hazardous substance. So that's what hazard pay is for. And the compensation to employees who perform hazardous activities to implement health or safety procedures. So that's the definition of what hazard pay is. Go on to the next slide, please. So what we're finding is if people are having to come in during this time, it does not meet the definition of hazard pay. You know, the nature of the work is not hazardous. You know, say like you just had to come in and do inventory on your supplies, or even if you had to come in and clean desks or things like that, the work itself is not hazardous, right? Usually when you're hazardous, you're dealing with toxic chemicals, you're dealing in a sanitary district, things of that nature. Just having to come in to work during the COVID-19 crisis is not considered hazardous. Employees are not implementing health or safety procedures and are exposed to the chemicals in nature. Also, when the pandemic ends, the pay is implied to be ceased, which is not considered routine and consistent, but ad hoc in nature. So what that basically means is that, you know, this crisis hopefully will only go on for a limited duration. So even if people were coming in and you try to report the hazard pay, it's not something that's going to be routine and consistent. It's going to create an unfunded liability. say someone came in for 3-4 months. Okay, if you reported it, it's not going to be maintained throughout their career. And even if it fell into their final comp period, we would end up denying it because you have to have special comp reported for more than just a member's final comp period. All in all, the COVID-19 pay does not equal hazard pay and is most likely not reportable. Having said that, though, if you feel that you do have a hazard pay that is reportable, please submit an inquiry to our MOU_review mailbox, MOU_review@calpers.ca.gov. Send an inquiry to that mailbox with your labor agreement or MOU language, and we can review it and let you know if it indeed is reportable. But every case that we've seen where employers have inquired about this, it truly did not meet hazard pay, did not meet the definition of hazard pay. Okay, so that's all I actually had for you guys today. At the end, Jennifer and I and others will be available for Q&A if you have any additional questions on this. And now I'm going to turn it over to, I think, Raina, but I don't have the agenda in front of me, so forgive me if it's somebody new.
Good morning. Next slide, please. So today, my name is Rihanna Lawati, and I'm from the Employer Account Management Division. Today, I'm going to be talking with Anastasia Movita. We'll be discussing upcoming membership and service credit purchase updates in the form of system enhancements. What we'll be going over today is the implementation date for the enhancements, what specific membership enhancements they're going to be, requests for employment information, payroll details. Next slide, please. We'll also be going over service credit purchase enhancements, the employer certification, benefits of the enhancements, and resources. Next slide, please. So the implementation date for these enhancements is scheduled for early September. And we're going to talk more in detail about the specific enhancements. Next slide, please. So the membership, the biggest change for membership is going to be, we're going to have the request for employment information letter is going to replace what is known today as the MEM 1344. So this letter is going to ask for your agency to go into myCalPERS to submit the information electronically. Next slide, please. So this request for employment information letter is going to be your agency's notification to complete the employment certification. It's going to be sent to your agency based on your myCalPERS notification preference. So if your preference is that you would like to receive mail copy, then it will be mailed out. If it's emailed, then you'll be notified via the email. Your agency will have 30 days to complete this certification in myCalPERS. Next slide, please. The request for employment information, the certification, once you go into myCalPERS, it's going to consist of 2 sections. The employment information section, and then the second section is going to consist of payroll detail earnings information. Next slide, please. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Anna to continue on.
Okay, thanks, Rihanna. So the employment information section will be familiar to submitting the pay period detail form or the previous employment certification, also known as the MEM 1344 form, except it will be online in a different format. While it may be in an electronic format, though, myCalPERS, through myCalPERS now, the same information is needed for the requested period of time in order to submit your service credit costing request. You'll be able to submit the dates of employment, the position title, time base, and the ability to upload supporting hiring documentation if applicable. And that's another great feature, is we can do that all online now. Next slide, please. It's displaying now is a sample of the panel that will be in myCalPERS. As you can see, it will show the participant's name and employer information up at the top. This is where you start to enter information for the request, such as the range of employment dates, the employment category type, position title, and one item added to assist is the ability to view exclusions based on the employment contract with CalPERS. As we go further through this panel, the time base should be selected and other information that pertains to the appointment, as well as the ability to upload hiring documents. Here is where you will also have the option to select if the participant is requesting to purchase service credit. Once this page is completed, then you will move on to the pay period details input page. Next slide, please. The payroll details section is the pay period details that were previously completed on the MEM 1344 form or in the request to purchase service credit purchase application. Now, instead of providing the information on the paper request, you must now complete the information in myCalPERS. The information entered can be stored in the system for future use. For example, for some participants that request to purchase service credit and they don't elect it and they request to purchase it again, they can end up requesting it multiple times and the information will still be there. Next slide, please. Here you can see the top photo is the current payroll detail form that is currently in the request to purchase service credit application. The bottom photo is a sample of how it will look in myCalPERS in the new format. This is still in the design process, so it may look slightly different from what is pictured, but nevertheless, all the same information is required to be entered. Next slide, please. This new process will require the participant to complete the new one-page request, which will still be a paper request, to purchase the service credit for the service prior to membership, CETA, fellowship, prior service, local system transfer, and optional service, and to submit that paper request to their employer for the requested time. As the employer will now have the ability to, and also be required to upload the request, answer certification questions, and provide pay period details for the requested period, all within the myCalPERS system. Next slide, please. After answering the questions regarding the service requested, then you will be directed to provide pay period details, the same way that was stated in the previous slides in regards to the employment information panel. The next step is to answer all questions pertaining to the requested service credit purchase, along with uploading the service credit purchase request form. These are all the eligibility questions that were on the previous paper request form to purchase the service credit. Next slide, please. Finally, the employer certification. You may recall this was presented earlier in the slides, but it will be done again. Now this will need to be completed by acknowledging the statement and finally submitting the request on behalf of the member. While the employer certification is similar to what was signed on the request form, you are now agreeing electronically regarding the payroll data entered and understanding that there may be an employer liability associated to the service credit purchase. Once this is completed, it will either trigger an arrears review by our membership team for possible arrears if the pay period detail provided meets the qualifications of possible earlier membership date, or it will generate a workflow to go to service credit purchase area to complete the costing for the requested type of purchase and provide the participant with an election to purchase service credit package. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Rihanna to continue. Next slide, please.
So we do have some benefits of the enhancements. So we hope to improve accuracy, reduce risk, provide upfront information. So hopefully by providing this upfront information, there will be less back and forth. efficiency, timeliness, real-time updates, and data ownership. Next slide, please. We do have some resources which are currently being worked on right now. We have a circular letter which is coming soon, a myCalPERS student guide that is coming soon, and they will provide more details on the enhancements we discussed today, and they should be posted later this month. And for general questions, you can always contact the Customer Contact Center. For membership-specific questions, we do have the membership reporting email address. And that concludes our presentation on membership and service credit purchase. Next slide, please. I will also be discussing permanent separations today.
Hey, Rihanna, before we go on, would it be possible to maybe answer some questions? Because I'm looking, sorry, everybody, this is Renee Ostrander this morning. Glad all of you could join us. I just think it looks like there's some questions, so I think it'd be great for us to tackle those before we get into the separations. Would you be able to help us with that, Rihanna?
Definitely.
Okay, so you know what? How about I'll just go ahead and read them, and then you can provide answers, and then if they have additional questions come up, they can just load it into our Q&A for us. So the first question is, do we have to enter the information on the employment info panel in addition to submitting the earnings through our regular payroll?
They will have to, and that might be more of a question for
I can answer that question. I can answer that. Okay, so when it comes to arrears, this new panel will basically take the place of what would normally be payroll, right? When someone is assessed in arrears right now, we send you that paper 1344. That's that form that Raina mentioned earlier, and you would basically physically write out all of the payroll detail onto that form, submit it to CalPERS, right, and then our service credit purchase team would key that into the system. So now, if you were assessed in arrears because you didn't bring the member into a membership timely or whatever the situation might be, you would just key it all into that panel. You would not report it through payroll. So this new panel would take the place of trying to report it through payroll in an arrears situation. Hopefully that answers your question. So you would not need to do it twice.
Great, thank you, Brad. Okay, the next question, will an individual with payroll RO access be able to input this information in the system? And I think Jennifer just answered that.
Yeah, you got a little bit ahead of me, but I can answer that question. So the business partner payroll RO will be one of the roles available. The first role is the business partner arrears role. They will have to have that. And then the business partner payroll RO role.
And we do have more information coming on the circular letter, which is going to provide further details.
I'll try and resubmit that answer. It didn't, the formatting did not come over correctly, so I'll fix that now.
Thanks. Another question on the notification letter, it gives the district 30 days to appeal, but I believe the date to enter reversals is before that 30-day period. Will you fix the letter to allow for the 30-day appeal period?
For what notification are we speaking? If we're speaking of an arrears determination, there should be the 30-day appeal time frame provided.
And I think they're saying, but they believe the date to enter reversals is before that 30-day period, as it looks like what she's trying to say.
I think we may want to just address that question later after I can clarify what exactly we're referring to.
That sounds great. We'll have, I know Susan is keeping copious notes, so she'll make sure we get back in touch with Monica related to that. And then, and the question, Monica also posed this question. She says, so basically all of this is now on the shoulders of the district to enter into CalPERS. Is that correct? And I can take that question directly. So the district has always been responsible, or the Office of Education, however you balance that amongst yourselves, has always been responsible for providing that information. We're just trying to provide a way to do it that's a little easier. So instead of having to complete manual forms and enter information, you're able to just enter it directly. We also don't have the issue of potentially forms getting lost in the mail or delay of issues. So it's really just taking a different approach to gather that information, because we've always needed that information to be provided by the employer in order to do the calculations that we do. We're now just saying, instead of having to put it onto a sheet of paper, you can just type it right into the system. And the next question, let's see here. I think most, okay, so here's another question. We are a file upload district, so I thought we would enter the earnings through our regular payroll. Is that not the case?
I'll take this one, Renee. So just not to confuse the two things, you would still report your regular payroll the way you're doing it now as a file uploader. You'd still add the earnings, all of that in there. What we're saying is now that when there's a mandatory arrears or 20283 arrears, that, like Renee just mentioned, in the past, we would have to set up a brand new receivable to bill the employer or the member for the arrears. So instead of filling out that old paper 1344 form, now you go into this panel and key that information in there. Even in the past, when there was an arrears situation, you should never have entered that through payroll. It should have all been done through this manual paper process with that 1344. So in short, still report your payroll as you always were. However, if there's an arrears situation, you would now use this panel.
Okay, and I do see that Monica has another question, so it would probably work better with those questions, Monica, if we just go ahead and we'll have Susan Four connect you, and maybe we can have some offline conversation to answer some other questions, because I know you're having other questions about submitting through regular payroll. So, and then Beth had a question, can the district enter and the COE review and finalize? So I'm assuming that's on those panels is what Beth is asking.
Yes, I believe that should be an option to go in and have someone complete it and then someone else go in and certify. Yes.
Correct. That's correct, right? I can confirm that.
Okay. All right. And I think that does that take care of, and Monica says, thank you. You're welcome. And then, so I think Praveen is asking this question, and I think you're just looking for confirmation. There is no additional certification needed by the county office regarding SCP. So I think you're looking for validation. And I think that if I'm reading that right, I think that somewhat ties to the last question that Beth had asked about the district entering and the COE reviewing and finalizing. So, and Rihanna and Jennifer just answered that question.
Yeah, correct, Renee. I'll chime in. So it really is dependent upon the county office and how they choose to handle it. So if Vina's county office is not going to want to do any additional certification, they would not have to. But if Beth does want to review and finalize, they would have the opportunity to do so.
Okay, I think that takes care of all of our questions. Sorry to interrupt you, Rihanna, but I know that there was a lot of questions coming in, and we're trying to make this as close to our physical environment as possible and answer those questions with each of the presentations. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about permanent separations.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to be discussing permanent separations, the benefits of timely reporting, employees who retire and reporting their separation, an automated process that we have for permanent separations, exclusions from that automated process, and our resources that we do have for the permanent separations. Next slide, please. So the benefits of timely reporting is that you avoid late reporting fees. It's going to improve our data integrity, so the information that we have is accurate and most up to date. And it's also going to ensure that the members are receiving the benefits that they are entitled to. Next slide, please. So for employees who retire, a separation date must be entered into myCalPERS for all retired employees. So even those employees who are on a leave of absence prior to their retirement, their separation needs to be entered. Next slide, please. And we do have the first payment acknowledgement letter, which is the myCalPERS 0926. The letter notifies your agency when an employee is placed on retirement roll. So when you receive these letters, if you can confirm that the permanent separation date has been reported to CalPERS, if the letter is missing the permanent separation date, please enter it into myCalPERS as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So we do have a fairly new automated permanent separation process. CalPERS is permanently separating appointments on the last business day of each month for the following situations. So it's for active appointments with a start date, which has been 6 months or greater, with no payroll that's been reported. Also active appointments with no payroll reported and posted within the last 6 months. Retirees with an appointment that is active or on leave. Next slide, please. So we do have exclusions to the automated process. The automated process will not include retired annuitants, on-leave appointments, non-contributory appointments, appointments with payroll that is in error status and has not yet been posted to the member's record, health-only appointments, retirement appointments with an active health enrollment that is associated to the appointment. Next slide, please. And so if this automated permanent separation process has been done on an account that you notice is not correct, it can be deleted or corrected. So if you see that that happens, just go ahead and go in and correct the separation date. Next slide, please. we do have resources for this permanent separation process. Circular Letter 200-036-20. And also for general questions, you can go ahead and contact the Customer Contact Center. And that is all I have for the permanent separation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Susan.
Thank you, Brianna. This is a good time to take a short 10-minute break. Let's meet back up here at 10:30. See you then. Thank you. All right. Well, oh, okay. All right. Welcome back. We're going to get started now. Now we've answered several questions that were submitted in the Q&A, and now Megan will address some of the reporting questions that were submitted in her presentation. So Megan, you have the floor. Megan, unmute yourself, please.
Hello, everybody. I will answer the report questions when we get to the slide on the report. So if we can just go ahead and advance to the next slide. Okay, so real quick on what we'll be covering today, I'm gonna go over some communication and enhancements. We have some updates for emails, we have some system enhancements, and just a quick overview of some resources for you. Go ahead with the next slide. Okay, so we have some exciting news. Starting in 2021, all of our circular letters will actually be in the form of an email subscription. So in order to receive circular letters, we encourage you to sign up for emails. The best way to do this is to go to the CalPERS website and do a search for email subscriptions. And then if you can see the highlighted portion here, it says Employer Bulletin. You'll want to select that to you want to select in the email address and subscribe. And then through there, you can sign up not only for circular letters, but you can also pick and choose other things that you want to get notified for. Going forward, you'll receive an email when there is a new circular letter with a link to that circular letter, along with any additional news that we send out with the e-bulletin. So we recommend that you set that up sooner rather than later so you can get used to using it. Next slide, please. We also want to call attention to our System Enhancements webpage. There's two ways to get there. The first way is to just do a quick search for System Enhancements. And then the other way is to select the Employer's Navigation link, and then the myCalPERS Technical Requirements. And then on that page, there is a link for System Enhancements. We keep a running list of all past enhancements. So when our next system release goes into play, we would have this updated. And then it's a brief overview of what has changed and who it impacts. Next slide, please. The other thing I want to call attention to is specific to myMessages, but also this is your home screen. Our resources are also located on the home screen. So if you're ever looking for circular letters, a quick reference to where our student guides are, any information on our enhancements, we have links under the Resources tab. And that will take you to those pages on CalPERS. Also, where it says myMessages at the bottom of this screen grab, this is a list of all of the myMessages that are sent to you. And any new and pertinent information will go here. We also, at the top of the page, let you know if there's any scheduled maintenance. where you would no longer be able to get into myCalPERS. We do tend to let you know when there is a new circular letter in a myMessage as well. So that is another way that you would be alerted to a circular letter. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to cover what is coming for our system enhancements. Our Cognos reports, we have quite a few changes, mostly cosmetic to our Cognos reports. I will give you a quick rundown. The collective outstanding payroll error report, we've added columns to provide for the business partner name, the division name, and then the CalPERS IDs. We're also going to be updating our website with a new sample report. The participant appointment detail, the present employer statement report, the reported member summary report, all have some cosmetic changes to the input parameters. Instead of selecting individual agencies, you'll now be able to do multi-select checkboxes, which is going to be really beneficial for you, so you don't have to run them for individual schools. You can do it for all of the schools under your county office. The CalPERS ID and appointment ID report, we've also added columns to provide for the business partner name, the division name, and then the CalPERS ID. We'll be adding a new sample report to that website. As far as the report for the appointments that we are permanently separating, we are working as fast as we can to get this put into the system. We don't have a date for you yet. Right now, the best way to do this would be to either contact the contact center or to send an email to our shared mailbox, which is the employer technical support at calpers.ca.gov. The member is receiving a notification. It's the options at separation letter if they have no other open or active appointments. So that is one way that we are notifying, but we are working as fast as we can to get some report in for you guys that you would be able to generate. And then the arrears receivable detail report, Brianna, I believe, touched on this, but we have made significant changes to that, and we will have updated samples on the website as well. Next slide, please. Okay. So we are also making some changes to our retirement enrollment process when you are doing an online enrollment. This is not impacting our XML filers at this time. We will be doing that at a later date. But for certificated members, the indicator will now no longer be optional. We are requiring for all school appointments to select yes or no for this. And that is a new change going forward. And then we've also made some changes for our retired annuitant appointments that's going to better assist you. We are allowing a new appointment type specific for retired annuitant appointments. So when you're looking at a member's history that is in your agency, you'll be able to identify if they're working for you in a retired annuitant capacity. We'll also be adding executive order options, and then we will be providing a Cognos report to better identify retired annuitant appointments with certain parameters. And then, like I said, the changes for those of you who file via file upload or FTP will not go into place. So there's no change to your process at this time. Next slide, please. Okay, time for any questions we may have. I have to read them, so sorry. Let me touch on the email subscriptions. If it's not available, when you say I'm assuming you mean on the CalPERS website, that's where you want to go. It should be, it's not specific to your myCalPERS login, it's separate from that. So anybody can actually subscribe to CalPERS notifications through that email subscription. So you want to go to the calpers.ca.gov website and search for email subscriptions there. And then as far as the information on the reports, I don't believe that options of separation is in document history for employers. It's only in the members' document history for now. So the only solution we have going forward would be some sort of Cognos report. And I believe that was it for the question.
Okay,
So,
that's it for the reporting questions. All right, well,
I tried to scroll through them.
okay, well, we're going to open it up to more general questions now, but Megan, feel free to keep on scrolling through and see if you see some reporting questions you can answer. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jennifer and Brad and Renee and the other members of the presentation team to review the questions that are in the Q&A and assist with the answering. So Renee, can I turn it over to you now?
If I can unmute myself, of course, would be great. And I'm looking through the questions. I know there were some additional questions that Jennifer has been busy answering related to the separations. It looks like we've got a few people who will be meeting with Jennifer and our team separately to answer some of those questions. But just to overall, while we wait for any general questions to come in for Brad, Jennifer, and I, overall, what we're trying to do is we're trying to limit, oftentimes we'll have individuals who are not separated timely in the system. And then when they go to work for a new employer, particularly if they go to work outside of our school employers, there's an incorrect determination of whether or not they're classic versus PEPRA. And as a result, it can really burden the new employer in terms of backing out reporting and re-reporting. And the likelihood that someone is employed for over 6 months with no payroll and they wouldn't be seen as needing to provide additional information for all of our employer base, it's unusual. I know it can happen with substitutes, but even with substitutes, typically they will have worked some time, at least a day within those 6 months. So I know it can happen and we understand that, but the vast majority of the time, if someone hasn't worked for 6 months, the likelihood is they wouldn't be they wouldn't be somebody you would typically bring back. There was another question too related to the, and I don't know if it's been answered. I'm trying to scroll through these questions fairly quickly. There was an answer related to separating them. And so then if it's a 7/1 date and then on 1/1, would we separate them as of 1/1? If they were brought in, but they had 0 payroll, they would be separated as of the 7/2 date. I think Megan will correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's no payroll, they're separated as of the day after their appointment date. So the separation date wouldn't be 1/1. It's the day after their last day of pay, or if they've had no pay, it's an immediate separation from the date.
That's correct, Renee. This is Jennifer.
Okay, great.
So I wanted to chime in a little bit. I saw some, I don't know if they were questions or just some statements earlier about the changes that Rihanna and Anna spoke about on our membership determinations and our SCP determinations. I don't know if it was clear as they walked through the presentation, but I just kind of revisit that and say, our for those is not really changing. What we're trying to do is move away from the paper form and collect the data via myCalPERS. So that's really the change that you'll be seeing. Instead of filling out that paper form or paper application, you're going to be entering that data directly into myCalPERS. Our hope is that in doing so, we're going to be able to reap all the benefits that Brianna outlined in her presentation, to be a little bit more timely, more effective, to keep that information in our system. You know, should a member try and request. So we're really just trying to work smarter, not harder. So my hope is, you know, once you guys have the opportunity, you know, in early September to start working in the system and using myCalPERS to interact with us on those cases, you're going to start to see that it's going to go more smoothly for you in the future.
Thanks, Jennifer. Brad, there is a question from Debbie on the out of class and the penalty calculation. Some concerns about how it was calculated and who would they contact to discuss.
Okay, you know, the way that we calculate the penalty for out of class, it's somewhat complicated, but in reality, it's kind of simple as well. What we do is we look at the appointment and see if it met the criteria of being an out of class appointment. You know, was someone upgraded to a higher position while there was a recruitment? So we look at that first. And then if it turns out that it meets that criteria, and this is the biggest part, were their contributions reported on that new appointment? We then look at the difference between what the person should have been paid if they've been permanently upgraded to that position to what they truly were paid. So in most cases, like with classic members, they're getting temporary upgrade pay and their contributions are in the system. So even if they met the criteria of there being a recruitment and they were upgraded to this position, more likely there wouldn't be a penalty because the contributions were paid on the difference. So let's just say that didn't happen. I'm going to use it as an example. Let's say that Renee, she's my boss, she left, and then I was upgraded to her position. They recruit for the position. I'm getting paid for a full year at her spot, but they didn't provide me temporary upgrade pay. We look at that, and it says that I worked for, let's say, 1,000 hours in that position. We look at what my current pay rate is, and then we look at what Renee's pay rate was. So let's say I was $5,000 and the bottom of her range was $6,000. We would look at those 1,000 hours. We would determine no contributions were reported to CalPERS for that upgraded position. And then they would basically take the difference of those contributions that should have been paid for all 1,000 hours, multiply that by 3, and then assess the penalty. So whatever the contributions would be on that 1,000-hour difference or $1,000 difference for that time difference, multiplied by 3 would be the penalty. I know that's kind of convoluted, but at the end of the day, it's only the difference between what my current position is and what the bottom of whatever Renee's range or whoever the person's position was that vacated's range. Hopefully that answers your question. And if you have questions on that, you can send an email to me, or actually we don't have a mail, I think we have a mailbox for that, but I don't have it readily available. Go ahead and just forward your questions to me if you're challenging a penalty you may have been assessed, and we can take a look at it.
Thanks, Brad. There's another question from Teresa about wanting to enroll somebody with a future end date. Then we separate them because they've had no payroll, and then re-enrolling somebody for another 6 months. I'm wondering, and maybe Teresa, we need to have a little bit more conversation. It might be worthwhile to contact Jennifer, but I'm trying to understand why you'd want to enroll someone and never use them. It sounds like for a year. So you'd enroll somebody but never use them. It's not, they're supposed to be enrolled effective the day they start. So if they never actually start with us, I would question whether or not they should be enrolled. So, because if we have a membership date that never actually has any earning of service credit, I'm missing the point of why you would do that if they never work even a day. So that would probably be better to have a further conversation. Capturing the chat and sharing it, we actually have, we will capture any questions that aren't answered and we will provide those out, but this is also being recorded. And so it is available if there's any questions that you might want to refer back to. Brad's email. So Brad's email is Brad, B-R-A-D .Hanson, H-A-N-S-O-N. So Brad.Hanson, S-O-N, at calpers.ca.gov.
Thanks, Renee.
Yeah, make sure you send lots of questions to him. Keep him busy.
Make sure to CC Renee Ostrander at RE. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. And Debbie, you're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions? I think Teresa said she's going to contact Jennifer directly, so that's great. We'll work through those questions. Brad or Jennifer, are you seeing anything else in the questions?
I am scrolling. Brad is a rock star. Brad, what did you send over to Robin to get that comment? No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he sent Robin a note, or maybe he signed in as Robin.
I totally agree with that statement. He is a rock star.
You guys are so sweet.
I'm looking to see.
Yeah, kind of going through. You know, the one thing I did want to add is that, I know that out-of-class reporting can be kind of a complicated issue, and I'd be glad to talk to anybody that has questions. So please, go ahead and send me your questions. But that circular letter that I referenced earlier has a lot of those details in there. It talks about the rules and the laws behind it. It also goes into quite a bit about the penalties. But I know that maybe some of you may be assessed penalties, but I don't have the list in front of me. But when we ran it for last year, we literally had only like 8 employers, and I don't even think there was any schools, but there could have been, that were assessed a penalty. In reality, you're going to find the only people that will truly be kind of caught up in this will be your PEPRA members. And that's because for PEPRA, you can't report temporary upgrade pay, right? So if someone was upgraded and they were a PEPRA member, you couldn't report the temporary upgrade pay to us, and we wouldn't get those contributions. That's basically the intent of the law, is that if someone's going to be upgraded, they should also be compensated for retirement for it. So at the end of the day, the majority of cases you're going to find are for PEPRA members. If they're classic, just make sure that if they're getting temporary upgrade pay, it's reported and those contributions are there. Having said that, feel free to email me anytime you want or refer back to that circular. I'll be glad to help you.
Okay, so I did find a question. Thank you, Angelina, for pointing that out to me. So I'm going to call on hopefully Rihanna or Megan to help me with this one. So she would like to know if a district has to enter earnings for multiple years, if the new screens will allow upload instead of entering each period individually. Are you guys? And I think this is something we're working on for a future release. I was hoping one of them could confirm for me. All right. Well,
that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, there's 2 mute buttons.
Oh.
So they're asking if they can submit payroll for multiple.
If they can upload.
Multiple periods.
Yeah, if they can upload it.
I believe that we can. I know we just got something to review. So is there another question we can move on to, and then I can give you my 100% answer?
Sure.
Well, and the hilarious is one of the next question actually might go to either you, Megan, or Brad. So we'll Brad take a hack at it while
Renee,
you.
Can I interrupt you for a moment? One of the nice things about being able to do this as a web conference is I was able to reach out to one of our analysts, and it turns out that yes, for the arrears, there is an upload feature. You would be able to upload the information. So you have online reporting, which is individual, and an upload feature.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's in a slightly different format. I have it right here. So we can send more information out too.
Okay.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Renee, shoot.
Yep. So Ramona had a question, Brad, that says, oh, and it looks like it's been assigned. Can we see which districts in our county that have or have not reported the out of class reporting?
Yes, we can. I can get back to you on that, Ramona. I don't have it readily available in front of me, but we have a Cognos report that we run to see who hasn't reported it yet. So I'll get back to you on that.
And then the second question comes from Lori about temporary upgrade pay. Does the employee have to be 100% in that position to have the district report the earnings? If a person only works 2 hours in the upgraded position, would these earnings not be reportable?
Could you repeat that question? Was that question for me?
Yes, it was. And I know the answer, but I just figure you should answer it.
Okay.
Keep you engaged, Brad. For the temporary upgrade pay, does the employee have to be 100% in that position to have the district report the earnings? If a person only works 2 hours in the upgraded position, would these earnings not be reportable?
You know, for temporary upgrade pay, even outside of out of class, really they should be doing 100% of the duty. So the way I always look at it is like this. If someone's only working in an upgraded capacity for 2 hours, that's really not 100% of the duties. They should be doing it basically a full-time basis. So I would say in those cases, no, it's not reportable. And the TUP should not be reported either.
Thanks, Brad. Great answer. I'll let you
from the best.
I'll let you earn your paycheck today.
Okay.
And Lori says, thank you for that answer.
You're welcome.
Does anyone see anything else? If not, I think we'll turn it back over to Susan and Bill.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Renee, and Brad and Jennifer and everyone else. So yes, we want to thank our presentation team for passing on all their valuable information today, and also our employers for your questions and your comments today. So as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be available on our website next week. And we do appreciate your time today. So thanks again, and please be safe out there and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.